Derek Carr answered a bunch of questions on his Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to react to some of these questions, look at some of them. They're very interesting. Derek Carr, I will give him this. Saints QB Derek Carr is kind of an open book. Now, there is a little bit of question of how much of that is truth and how much of it is him playing this version of himself. I'm not worried about that. Everything I've seen about Derek, I like Derek Carr as a person. I think Derek Carr is a genuine person. I think Derek Carr really does want to win. I think he really does want to be a positive influence and an inspiration and all of that. I have zero problem with Derek Carr the person. And in some of these answers, you will see that. So we're going to go through these. He did a Q&A on his Instagram. Derek Carr QB is the Instagram handle. Also, while you're there, follow my Instagram so you can get all the, anything that I'm doing on a daily basis. You love to see it. Derek Carr's kind of an interesting cat because he actually, so if y'all didn't know this, Derek Carr's been pretty, I don't want to say influential, but Derek Carr has been like kind of dabbling in media and content creation for his whole career. You can find videos of Derek Carr preaching. You can find videos of Derek Carr playing golf. You can find videos of Derek Carr even playing Fortnite. He even tried to do a little gaming, a YouTube gaming career there. And if you're interested in gaming and YouTube, why not check out James Skrmetta Gaming, a hot, brand new, amazing, high-level gameplay channel where I get into all kind of video games. So make sure to go check that out as well. We're not going to watch every question. Some of them are just kind of, hi, how are you doing, Derek? We're going to get into the good ones. There are some questions in here that I would consider hard-hitting. He answers one specifically where whoever asked the question basically said, like, quit scamming us. Quit only being good when you're down 20 points. That's the main one I want to see. But we'll flip through the ones that I don't think are very prevalent, and we will talk about the ones that I think are prevalent. Not prevalent is this, well, I'm not sure what's going on here. This egg, broccoli, cheese. I mean, maybe it's chicken. Maybe it's gnocchi. Some potato dumplings. I don't even know. We're going to skip that.
You have no idea. That is all I want to do. I appreciate that. Yes, because we have...
Okay, this one's interesting. So, who's one receiver you would love to play with? Now, remember, Derek chooses the questions, right? Like, he gets a bunch of questions and he can choose which one he's going to answer to. I believe is how this works. So, he's not picking, I might be wrong on that. So, someone who knows Instagram better than me, but I'm pretty sure he's getting flooded with questions and he can kind of choose which ones he wants to answer.
I already played with them in New Orleans. That's who I love to play with.
Very PC answer.
And, boys, who's one guy in the past, like a pass receiver, you'd love to see Daddy throw to? Hunter.
So Hunter is Hunter Renfrow. So I'm not going to say Derek kind of queued that one up for his boys. And the way I read that is that Derek wanted to say Hunter Renfrow. And Hunter Renfrow has been a guy who has been tied to the Saints. There's been, I think we had a video on here a couple weeks ago talking about Hunter Renfrow possibly coming to the Saints. But I feel like Derek, kind of one of those things where like he prefaced it with, hey, boys, what do y'all think? Instead of him coming out and saying, like, I want to play with Hunter Renfrow. So I would take this as Derek Carr basically saying he wants to play with Hunter.
I appreciate you. And I can't wait to get back to work with the guys here in just a couple weeks and really put our stamp on this offseason.
I think so. You know, Derek Carr's an interesting cat, and the situation is interesting. And I think it's good. You know, there's a lot of hate for Carr, and there's a lot of Carr's a very polarizing quarterback. I mean, I see it in the comments below where I see people say Carr is horrible. Like, I see people who really do not like Derek Carr. And then I also see people who truly believe Derek Carr is like a top 5 quarterback. There's people who truly believe he is right there with Patrick Mahomes and right there with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm certainly not on either of those sides. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think Carr is top. I think he's an above average quarterback. I think he, if bang average would be 16, obviously 16 times 2 is 32 teams. I'm very, very comfortable saying he's somewhere between, at his absolute best, 10 to where he normally probably is, somewhere around 12 is where I'd put Carr. I'd be totally fine with him saying that. At times, he could probably peak higher, probably get in the top 10. And if that's the case, I think we can just rally behind Carr, accept the situation, understand that we have him for a couple of years. He's our quarterback. He's not this isn't a guy who we're tied to for 10 years. He's only here for a couple of years. So until he shows otherwise, and really, if you look at last year, Carr wasn't awful. He wasn't awful. Certainly, at the end of the year, he was pretty good. So until he gives us a reason to come out and just be like, look, this guy is absolute garbage. This guy's absolute trash. I think it is okay to just believe in the guy, focus on other parts of the team, focus on bettering other parts of the team, and see what Carr can do. I'm totally okay with Carr at quarterback. I really am. I have yet. I don't think I've really had a video or a take or whatever where I've said we have to replace Derek Carr, because I'm fine with Carr being the quarterback. If Atlanta, Carr to New Orleans and Cousins to Atlanta, it's all relatively similar. So if people are out here saying Kirk Cousins can take Atlanta to the next step, I think you can say the same thing about Derek Carr taking New Orleans to the next step.
And coming together and becoming the team that we started to do at the end of the season. So we're going to build on that, and I cannot wait to get back in that dome. It's going to be awesome.
Same.
This is a great one. I love these. Like when we had to win 4 of our last 5, to even have a chance. Yeah. Nice try with the hate. We ain't doing that no more. Appreciate you, though.
All right, so this was the big one. This is the one that I really wanted to watch him answer. Show up when the game is winnable, not when you're down 20, and stop scamming us. So let's listen to Carr's answer again on this.
This is a great one. I love these. Like when we had to win 4 of our last 5, to even have a chance. Yeah. Nice try with the hate. We ain't doing that no more. Appreciate you, though.
I will say I don't like Carr's answer. I'm not a fan of Carr's answer. Like Carr's answer of, you mean like when we had to win 4 of our last 5 to even have a chance, could have been. You could just flip that and say, when we didn't win, whatever, 5 of our last 6 or whatever it was to go to the playoffs. Or you could say when we didn't win enough games to win an NFC South. Like his answer, his checkmate is that they kind of did good enough at the end of the season to be in a sort of a pseudo position to make the playoffs, but they ultimately did not make the playoffs. They ultimately did not win the NFC South. So I'm not a huge fan. I can't imagine Tom Brady or Kobe Bryant or one of these, Michael Jordan, one of these just absolute winners, absolute leaders, absolute next level competitors. I can't imagine them being like, oh yeah, what about that time where we barely went above 500 and almost made the playoffs but didn't? I can't imagine them celebrating that, like hang the banner, 2023 New Orleans Saints, and the banner could say won 9 games, put themselves in a position to where their destiny was out of their control, but they almost could have backed into the playoffs if 3 teams would have lost on the last Sunday, even though they should have beat a couple of those teams earlier in the season. Like that banner, that's a tough banner to hang in the Superdome. So on one hand, I do love that Carr is addressing this. I do love that Carr, same with the parade thing last year, where he had that parade making fun of him, or the float at the parade making fun of him, and he posted on his Instagram or on his Twitter or whatever, and kind of had some fun with it. I do appreciate that. Carr is the ultimate optimist. He is the ultimate things are positive. He's positive. He loves New Orleans. New Orleans loves him. His favorite receivers are his receivers. His favorite fans are the current fans. His favorite offensive line ever is his current offensive line. That's very much who Carr is. But I do appreciate the fact that he's able to also kind of show this side, also show some of the fans who are upset with him or disappointed in him or whatever, and he's willing to kind of get out in front of it. Even though I didn't like his answer, I think there is something like to tip your cap, give some credit to the fact that he's even willing to answer this.
74 is my very best round. 74, that was a good day. I made a lot of putts, but I'm getting down there.
What's crazy is how good of pro athletes are. I know that seems like a obvious statement, but it's insane. Steph Curry's a scratch golfer. That Tony Romo is a scratch golfer. That Derek Carr is shooting 74s in golf. That is crazy. He's a professional. You hear about these professional quarterbacks who they're NFL starting quarterbacks who also were drafted in Major League Baseball. There's a ton of quarterbacks that's happened. Like Russell Wilson was drafted, Tom Brady was drafted. I'm sure there's a million. Kyler Murray. I'm sure there's a million other ones where they get. I'm pretty sure Kyler Murray. Someone double check this. I'm pretty sure Kyler Murray was drafted in the first round of both. Let me check that right now. Actually, I don't want to steer y'all wrong. Yeah, I mean this is absolutely insane. Kyler Murray was drafted first overall by the Arizona Cardinals. That same year, or the year before, he was drafted 9th overall by the Oakland A's. Think about how good of an athlete Kyler Murray is. I mean, this is crazy. Like when you look at this kind of stuff, right? Kyler Murray was named, as a high school senior, he was named Gatorade Football Player of the Year. He was then named Mr. Texas Football twice, the first player ever to be named Mr. Texas Football twice. Won 3 straight state championships in Texas, which was basically junior college championships. 43 games in a row. He goes to Oklahoma. He wins the Heisman, gets taken first overall in the NFL and 9th overall in Major League Baseball. The level of athlete these guys are. And the fact that Derek Carr is, played college quarterback. Oh, then I got drafted in the NFL. Oh, now I'm an NFL starting quarterback. Oh, and I also casually shoot 74 just playing golf. Like it always blows my mind when you hear about these players who, I don't know if it's just the hand-eye coordination or their reflexes or their physical. I really don't know what it is, but I mean, it's crazy how some of them can transcend, can switch sports, and they're good at all these different sports, and it really is impressive.
Below 72 at some point. Very excited to work with him, and he's a great human being, and even better coach. He works extremely hard, so really looking forward to it.
I think he flipped those. I think you're supposed to say he's a great coach, but even a better human being. Saying he's a great human being, but even better coach is pretty wild. Maybe it is what he meant. This is a horrific angle, by the way. If you're ever doing, like a selfie or something, I can't imagine like the angle you want is like that. Like that can't be it, right? Like how is that the angle? I think you're supposed to go like from the top, right? I think you're supposed to kind of lift the camera, not look straight down at the camera. I mean, I feel like I'm an Oompa Loompa or something. This is insane.
Look, I've been trying to say this for years, and clearly they didn't watch the last half of the year.
If you're another plug for the Skrmetta-verse, but if you're interested in Madden and Derek Carr in Madden, check out my Madden franchise. Check out we're in season 2, actually. Spoiler alert. Derek Carr is not the current starting quarterback for my Saints in that Madden franchise. So if you want to see who is the starting quarterback, go subscribe, go check out the videos. That channel is popping off. That channel is solid. So I'm really, really appreciate all the engagement over there.
But I love those guys, and
who, the Madden
wish
Raiders?
them nothing but the best. I think it was just how everything started.
All right, good question here. What do you think is the main reason last season was a bit disappointing? He says how everything started. I agree. They started off hot, and then all hell broke loose. I think they just got really behind themselves. I think they were just playing they were kind of in a hole, both emotionally and physically. Emotionally because they were dropping games, and all of a sudden they're a couple games under 500, and they don't know how to get right, and nothing seems to be working. And then they start hearing all the news reports, and they start hearing all the stuff. Physically, they start getting hurt. A lot of players are banged up. A lot of players are injured. Kamara, started the season on suspended, and Carr got hurt, and then Carr came back, I think, early. How healthy was he? In that game against Tampa Bay in the Dome. So it was just ugly. It was ugly, and then the coaching didn't help. The Carmichael stuff was a complete disaster at the beginning of the year. The offensive line was a complete everything. I said it during the season, but it seemed to me like the Saints needed a preseason during the season. They needed, and that happens. Like that happens in sports where you're asked to play another game, but really you need time to like work out what's going on. And the Saints, you could tell they needed time to work out just getting, communicating and being on the same page, and the receivers and Carr and the offensive line and Carr, and they were working it out during NFL games. And that's not good because the other team isn't working things out. The other team is playing. And that's what happened a lot to the Saints was by the time they figured things out, either the game was out of hand and they had to come back from down 3 scores, or it was too late in the season where it didn't matter. So if we could have like called a timeout after like the 5th week of the season and had like a 4-week preseason, I think we probably would have been fine. But they were just so out of sync, which I think is a big problem with coaching. Of like, how did you not have these guys prepared? What did y'all do in OTAs and preseason and all that? So, but yeah, I think the start of the season was brutal.
You know, we ended up losing a few after the first 2 games, and then we had a lot of guys getting hurt, and we weren't at our best. And so it started off so exciting, and we won, and then it started going like this, and then everyone felt the frustration, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we finished strong. We just didn't finish good enough. And so,
yeah, I mean, I think. Well, I'll let him keep.
So, looking forward to another chance at it this year. Can't freaking wait.
The finish strong thing, I do have a problem with that because they did finish strong, but a lot of it was meaningless and a lot of it didn't. You know, like the Falcons game was relatively meaningless. The Buccaneers game, in the grand scheme of things, relatively. I mean, we had to win the games, but when you look back at it, relatively meaningless. And then the one game that was like, hey, your backs are kind of against the wall here. You kind of have to step up was the Rams game, and we got absolutely boat raced in that game. So it's one of those things like we won the games we were supposed to. I'm pretty sure we were favorites in all of the games. I'm pretty sure we were favorites. I know we were for sure favorites against the Falcons. I'm pretty sure we were favorites on the road against Tampa, and then the Giants and the Panthers and teams like that. We would have been favorites. So the only team we weren't supposed to win was the Rams, and we got completely just demolished. So, you know, I wish we would have had a better performance against the Rams just to show that. Because like that's my big thing with that is that we peaked at the end of the season, except for that one time we played the Rams. Like it's hard to say we were playing at the highest level possible at the end of the season when you also got beat by 30 or whatever on Thursday Night Football. If we would have if we would have won, if we would have did exactly what we did, lost to the Rams and beat the other teams, but we lost to the Rams by like 3, and it was a competitive game, it was a close game, it was a good game. We didn't get absolutely starched to start the game. I would be like, okay, yeah. I mean, the Rams were playing really good at that time. We're going on the road, but you know, you can lose games like that, but at least look competitive. So it's hard for me to say we figured it out, because if we figured it out equals us getting destroyed by the Rams in a must-win spot, that's not a good sign. Okay, so that's it. That's all the questions that I thought were interesting. I skipped a lot of the ones that was just shout-outs and call-outs and happy birthdays and whatnot. So good stuff. I like that Carr did this. I hope he does more of this. Or you know, I like to see players. I think this is a good idea for Carr. I think he needs to do more of this. He needs to, you know, be more out in the open with the fans. So go down below. Let me know what you thought about the answers, the questions. What questions would you ask Carr? All of that. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend. I will see you in the next video.